So what I'm going to do first of all then is start to just play the video back, okay? But you said at the beginning when you first came in that you've done Blenheim,
Yeah.
and you said you did 750 in
18 minutes, just
Okay.
over 18 minutes.
Yeah, okay. And that was, you swam the 100 metres warm up. I know it's just a warm up, but you swam that in about 2 minutes for 100, so 8 minutes for 400.
Yeah.
So similar kind of pace. What do you think? What do you think is kind of holding you back in terms of your swimming overall?
Kicking, I think, is partially to do with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you read all sorts of different things saying if you're doing an open water swim for triathlon, for example, not to kick as much as you normally would. Mm-hmm. One, because you don't need the buoyancy because you've got a wetsuit on.
Yeah.
Two, you're obviously trying to save your legs. Otherwise, I honestly don't know in terms of arms, but
yeah. Okay. In terms of your breathing, what do you? I notice you breathe every fourth stroke on the one side.
Yeah.
Is that the way you normally?
It depends. When it was a bit colder, I had a wetsuit on. I was doing every 3 strokes at the weekend.
So you can breathe both sides.
Yes, I can breathe both sides.
Okay, fine. That's good. That's good to know. All right. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll play it through, and we'll have a chat as we go. You see that? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now this side view is kind of poolside view, which is obviously what most people see from poolside, just to see someone, that lady over there swimming.
Mm-hmm.
You can only see so much. Everyone looks pretty good from this angle, and your stroke looks pretty tidy from this position. What I'm looking at here is looking at a whole bunch of stuff, but looking at the rhythm of the stroke, the timing, your stroke rate, obviously your body position,
mm-hmm.
and what's happening with your head and your breathing.
Yep.
Okay. We'll just play it right the way through, so the 4 lengths, and then we'll kind of go back to the beginning and we'll start talking about it. Obviously, the underwater view we can see here is quite revealing.
Yeah, you see, like you're really far down, you're dipping up to sort of take a breath every time, so you're kind of stalling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can see a lot of stuff from that angle. This angle, we have a look at a whole bunch of things, but mainly your arm positioning when you enter the water, and you'll catch and see what your arms are doing. And then from above, it's kind of nowhere to hide from this angle. So we look at your body positioning and your alignment, again what your legs are doing and what the kick is doing, and your hand entry.
Yeah.
So basically, we can see
duck feet.
We can see everything from all different directions, all different angles. So the next thing, of course, is to go through it and analyse what we've got. When you swam at Blenheim at the weekend, how did you feel that your breathing was? Did you feel relaxed?
You
felt pretty relaxed.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a few open water swims, so I feel quite relaxing.
And you're breathing every 3rd stroke generally there.
Yeah, it's just a bit colder, a bit less relaxed, perhaps.
Okay, right. So that's the 4 lengths.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show you what we've got. So if we go back to this position here. Okay, so what I look for in general, first of all, is when you look at stroke correction, there's like a hierarchy in terms of the order that you can look at things to fix things in, because you imagine if very often the head position and the body position and the breathing will impact the rest of the body, because if you're lifting your head to breathe, for example, then your hips and your legs will drop. So you may think that you've got a problem with sinking legs, for example, and you may decide to go and work on that. Well, in actual fact, that's actually a symptom of something else.
Yep.
So there's a sequence of events that we look at to try and. So if we start looking at head position and breathing. If we get that right, then we move on to the next thing. So the first thing I'm looking for here, and also I'm looking at the timing of your stroke and the amount of stroke, the stroke rate you have. Because that lady there, she's got quite a slow stroke rate.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to have, I'm looking at stroke rates kind of Um, 55 to 70 is a reasonable stroke rate. You're right at the low end of that. You're down at, I took a couple of snapshots of your stroke and you were about 50, 55, 56, so quite a slow stroke rate. So I look at that as well. It's not excessively slow, some people are down in the 30s. You know. So that's something else that I look at this stage. So if we play this through, what I'm looking for is your head position at this point. So when you turn your head to breathe, so you can't see it because you're breathing away from us at the moment. The first thing I'm looking at is how high your head is coming up. Yeah. And you mentioned that, I think, when you got out of the water, didn't you? Your head is coming right out of the water, and we'll see it better from other angles in a minute. But ideally, you want to be having just one goggle out of the water when you turn to breathe. Having a head that high causes the hips and the legs to sink, which we'll see in a minute. Okay? So that's the number one thing, or the first thing that I've kind of seen from this. Nice high elbow, rotating quite a lot there. Hand entry, and then the other hand entries. We'll have a look at what your arms and your hands are doing in a second. So the first thing we're looking at this point is the height of the head and what's happening with your breathing. So if you can see your body position from here, but it's fairly low in the water.
Yeah.
Play that through. Okay, so on the way back, so what I'm looking at now is the breathing. Are you holding your breath? A lot of swimmers have a tendency to, they don't think they're doing it, don't realise they're doing it, but they hold on to their breath and hold on to the air in their lungs for a long time. And what that does is it makes your upper body buoyant, pulls your upper body up, and again, causes your legs to sink down a little bit. Ideally, we want to be having a nice kind of constant, relaxed breathing out. Okay, so that means by the time you turn your head to breathe, you've completely exhaled, and all you're doing when you turn your head to breathe is breathe in. Some people will almost have to breathe out and breathe in at the same time because they hold their breath. So we'll run it through and see what you're doing. So you're taking a breath there. There might be a better angle in a minute. And you've got bubbles coming out of your mouth now, which is good. So the early signs are good. You said that you felt quite relaxed at Blenheim. If you hold your breath, you get a build-up of CO2, and it can kind of make you feel a bit anxious and stressed. Okay, so what we can see here, look, this is a good way to see the head position.
It's kind of craned right back, isn't it?
Yeah, so your head is craning right up. You've got one ear in the water, and that's about all. And then what you have is this sinking down. Rather than your body position being up here where the lane rope is, you've got this body sinking down here. When you look at swimming, in simple terms, you've got two elements that we look at. There's propulsion and drag. Okay? Yeah. We want to reduce drag, we want to increase propulsion. Okay, so the things I'm looking at now are, in the main, drag related. So lifting the head up drops the legs. Holding your breath largely drops the legs. And there's your, looks like I'll have a look another minute, but it looks like you're slightly over rotating there as well. Okay, which again causes your legs to come right down. So I'm starting to look at your breathing here. Just take that back. It doesn't like going backwards this for some reason. I'm just trying to see. So you're taking a breath. There's some air coming out there. And normally what happens is suddenly you'll see a burst of air there. So it suddenly starts to come out. It's not too bad. There's a tiny little bit of breath holding, I think. Breathing out there. It's not too bad. No, okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. There's a constant steady of bubbles there. There's no major issue there. That's good. So that's good. So you can bilaterally breathe, and it's looked like you've got a reasonable constant exhalation of air there already, which is really good. Okay, so body position then. We know that you're lifting your head. That's causing the kind of the back end to drop down. What we'll look at in a minute is your hand entry and what happens to your arms as well.
Yeah.
So what's happening at this point, and a lot of these things are related to the same thing, a lot of these things are causing the back end to drop down, okay, which is the drag we don't want. Okay. Taking a breath, lead arm collapsing down. Ideally, because that's the other arm is coming down straight down there. Okay. Ideally, that should be staying high and supporting you so you can take the breath.
I almost feel like having to kind of push my head out of the water quite sort of pushing my arm down just to get my head out. But
exactly. I'll show you some clips in a minute. Which will emphasise what I'm talking about. Okay. So exactly what you say is right, because that collapses down and it takes you down. It's taking you down with it. So you're having to lift your head higher to get the air before your head follows down.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to be keeping that lead arm high, which gives you should give you some purchase on the water to allow you to get that breath. What's happening is you're kind of going down, so you're having to go like that to take the breath.
Yeah.
There's a load of great drills to sort these things out. So that's good. Yeah. This is all the bad news now. Okay, we'll come to the good news in a minute, and what we can do about it in a minute. Okay, so what we'll look at now then, just while we're on this shot, is your legs. Okay, you mentioned your legs. It's just going to come out, and I'll go back a little bit. You mentioned your legs. Yeah, you've got kind of runner's feet, so they're a bit downward pointing rather than they're ideally, obviously, as you no doubt know, your toes should be pointed.
Yeah,
should be like kind of ballerina toes almost, really, with a gentle flutter kick from the waist. What we can see here, is what we kind of call anchor feet. Sounds a bit horrific, anchor feet, but that's kind of what they do. Yeah. So they're causing something else which is causing drag. A little bit of kicking from the knee. If I just kind of slow that down a little bit, take that back. As you come into shot, you'll see a little bit of kicking from the knee. See that there? So what ideally you want to be kicking from the hip rather than the knee.
Right.
It's just an inefficient way of kicking, and that combined with your feet in the position they're in doesn't really give you much propulsion. Causes a lot of drag. Ideally, in terms of open water swimming and triathlon, your legs and your feet are there for balance.
Yeah.
More than propulsion.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that at the beginning, didn't you? About not worrying about the kick too much, because it's not so much for triathletes. So we can do some things with your feet. We can have a look at that and your kick. So we can do some work on that, some drills on that. We can carry on playing it through. Okay, so from this angle, what I'm looking at here is what happens to your hands when they enter the water and the catch and pull. Okay. So your hand is entering the water. It's nice and straight at that point, actually. Nice and straight. So your hand should be extending in front of your shoulder towards the end of the pool, which is pretty much what they're doing at the moment. So they're straight towards the end of the pool, coming straight towards us. You should then get a nice angle in the elbow, kind of 100 to 120 degrees. And that is, that's bang on. That's good. We'll play it through the other side. Now I think this is where we're going to get the problem, because when you breathe, and the lead arm is collapsing down, so you're over-rotating. In fact, you're rotating past. You're kind of rotating in the negative, if you like.
Yeah.
Should be 45 degrees, really. So your body position, you should be here.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, that lead arm is coming straight down, and as you can see, there's virtually no angle there at all. It's straight.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be interesting to see what's happening with your arms when you bilaterally breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, right, so from above, looking at body alignment again, ideally we want to be nice and straight. And when I say straight, your hands entering the water in front of your shoulders. So your arms should enter. Wrong gadget. Your hands should enter and should go straight ahead in front of your shoulder. What's happening here, as you can see, is it's crossing over.
Yeah.
And as we run it through, crossing over here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a crossover there. That hand actually stays. It enters a little bit across the centre line. So if we put, just wait for it to catch up. Just sort itself out. Doesn't like going backwards. So if we put a centre line in here, that hand is actually, it's entering the water over in that direction. Oh. It's entering the water over in that direction.
Yeah.
But as you enter the water, your hand extends forwards and is actually nice and straight. That's pretty good, that. And then you get a good catch, as we've seen from the other angle with the 115 degrees or whatever it was. So that's really good. And then it all kind of goes a little bit pear-shaped once you breathe on that side, over-rotating and the hand dropping down. I might get you to do some bilateral breathing in a minute, and I'll see how much difference it makes, because one of the things we definitely look at is having uniformity and balance the stroke.
Yep.
And we see a lot of this when people breathe on one side, is they do have an imbalance and they have a problem just on the one, because they're just purely because they're breathing to the one side. So we do try and emphasise, especially when you're training, that you can bilaterally breathe. So you do all of your training with bilateral breathing, so everything's nice and balanced.
Mm-hmm.
When you swim open water, you may choose to breathe on one side. If there's someone there next to you, or there's some swell or some chop or something like that, it's good to be able to breathe on one side. So it's a good skill to have. But when you're training, always train bilaterally. Okay, so we've discussed the crossover. And then what happens again here, just to emphasise this point really, is when the leading hand enters and crosses over here, and I said about your legs balancing up, what happens here then is you end up with a scissor kick. Okay? So crossing over leads to a scissor kick. So your hand is crossing over as you enter the water, it leads to a scissor kick because it's throwing your body out of its natural alignment. And that's why your legs are starting to part.
Oh, I see. Rather than just being together.
Yeah. So that combined with your feet, like this, is
probably better not having them there.
Is not helpful. Is not helpful. Okay. So now what I propose to do with you is to go through the main things in order.
Yeah.
What the idea of this footage here is that I'm kind of giving you everything, because you want to go away and sort some of these things out. I will go through the main things with you in the order that they should be attacked in.
Yeah.
But it may well be that you get to some of these other issues further down the line. But I'm identifying all the faults I can see right now on this. Okay. So what I'm saying is, we ain't going to fix all these today. Okay. All right. But it's good to have the whole.
Well, it's good to know. It's not just sorry, your swimming stroke's perfect. You just got weak arms.
Right. So we just carry on playing this through, and then we've got one more. We've been through most of this now. So there's the hand dropping down. You're breathing out constantly, which is good, so we know that. Yeah. We do have a certain amount of. Shouldn't go backwards on this thing. It takes. There we go. So what you want when your hand enters the water and you start the catch is you should always be aiming to start pulling the water backwards straight away. Okay. At the moment, that hand is pushing downwards, and pushing downwards creates lift at the front end, which again leads to the back end dropping. Okay. All right. So you can see that's pushing down, it's pushing down, it's pushing down, still pushing down, and then it's probably not until there that it actually starts to push backwards. Okay. So you've got all that space there with no propulsion at the front end. Okay. And then we know the other hand, when you breathe, is just pushing. Yeah, it's pushing down. Okay, so that's pretty much everything so far. So what we'll do then, just quickly, one more time then, just so as I want to show you some footage of what it should look like.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I use the Swim Smooth app. I'll take your details and I'll send you a link to the Swim Smooth app, because on here I shed loads of videos and drills, and all the drills I refer to will be in here. Okay. It's a paid app, but you get 48-hour access, so you can have a look and hunt around and things like that. I'll give you all the footage anyway that you need to do the drills that you need to do. But this is a good facility for you to go and have a look at, and I use it a lot to kind of show examples of what you should be doing. So pop-eye breathing. Okay, see that picture there, look? So ideally, that's what we want to be doing with the head. So the head is just turning enough so that there's one goggle out of the water, and then there's just the kind of mouth, like Popeye, comes to one side, and that's how you breathe. Okay, you have your head in that position. If you imagine if you don't, what we want ideally around the top of your head is a bow wave, because the bow wave forms around the head here. It creates a little trough, and that trough gives you some extra room to breathe. If you lift your head and dip your head, lift your head, dip your head, it completely disintegrates the bow wave. Okay, so keeping your head still. If I show. I'll show you this footage. This is John Van Hazel, who is an Olympic athlete, or was. Said to have one of the smoothest strokes in the world. This is great to watch for a whole bunch of reasons. Okay. What I'm showing you for now is his head position. Look at his head. You could almost balance something in the back of his head, often when he turns to breathe. It's perfectly still. He turns to breathe. It just rotates when he breathes. Okay. See, no up and down. There's the bow wave. Okay, that's perfect there. Look, you can just see. That's what we want to be aiming for. Yeah? In fact, I'll leave that on there for now. Fine. He's always a good one to have here to compare to. So. Okay, so if we carry on running your stroke through, so that's what we want to be trying to achieve with the head. Okay, so just the constant head position, nice and still. I'll go through some breathing drills with you, just so as you know, and it can demonstrate what we're trying to achieve with the constant exhalation. I think you'll find it quite easy, but they're called the sink down drill. And you just do it at the deep end, and you literally exhale and see if you can sit with the bottom on the floor of the pool. Most people can't get it all out because they're not used to doing that, so they kind of hang around in the middle somewhere and never actually get to the bottom. So I was watching the clock, I want to try and go through. We're okay till 9 o'clock actually, so we should be okay for time. Are you okay for if we run over? Yeah. Okay, so we'll run this through then. So that's the head position. We'll have a look at your bilateral breathing. So
Yeah.
we'll look at your head position, your constant exhalation, and you get your bilaterally breathing. That's where we want to be starting with those three things. Okay. If your breathing's right and your head position right, and everything else should hopefully follow on. So what we'll look at next is we'll look at the kick. So if we use Jono again, so he's kick constant. So his feet there.
Yeah.
That's what your toes should look like. We can't expect you to go like that straight away, but that's what they should be doing. Because he's not over rotating, his feet are staying together.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no scissor kicking. So a constant flutter kick from the hips. And what we can do is have a look at the torpedo drill. I'll play this video because it'll record it onto what we're recording then,
Okay.
and then you'll have it for later. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. If the internet
So we're now going to do the torpedo kicking exercise, which is a great way to measure the efficiency of your freestyle leg kick and how it's developing. On this little exercise, I'm going to push off the wall and kick as far as I can and as fast as I can on one single breath, trying to get a maximum proportion from my leg kick. I'm then going to turn around and contrast that with a nice steady lap of freestyle back into the wall, arms as well, but with a very, very gentle leg kick, just enough leg kick to provide a good body position in the water, and most importantly, for my legs not to be dragging behind me. My toes are going to be pointed out behind me, turn slightly in, and I'm just going to have a gentle tap, tap, tap of the toes from behind me. Let's see how we go.
This is an alternative to sitting down doing kicks and kickball.
When you're doing
This
this
is
particular exercise, make sure you
much better
kick as
method.
hard as you can off the wall. The idea is to contrast a hard effort off the wall in this torpedo position with a steady swim back with hardly any effort from the legs.
Now that exercise, you're trying to go as far as you can on one single breath, and as you can tell, I'm actually quite out of breath from doing that, which brings home the point that kicking very, very hard is actually quite wasteful of energy. Even the great Ian Thorpe only used to generate up to 11% of his entire propulsion from the leg kick. The rest of it came from a very good catch and pull through, good body position in the water combined with great rotation. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to swim back to the wall with a much steadier leg kick, just enough to keep my feet nice and high in the water, focusing on just turning the toes in and tapping gently against each other. So this torpedo leg kick exercise is a fantastic way for those of you who've maybe tried doing some kicking exercises in the past with a kickboard out in front of your head, but found you've gone nowhere. Unfortunately, the kickboard's lifting you too high up at the front, exacerbating low sinking legs at the back, and if you haven't got the correct form and technique, i.e. toes pointed out, nice long straight legs, you simply won't go anywhere. Next try practicing some leg kick, give this little exercise a bit of a go. Okay, here we go, back with the freestyle.
Okay, I'll stop it there. So that's an alternative to kicking the kickboard.
Mm-hmm.
It just gives you some focus on actually a nice strong kick, because you'll see you kick as far as you can on one breath. You'll see how effective your kick is getting, because you'll start getting better further down the pool as you progress. Then turn around and swim back, but this time with a relaxed kick. And you think, we'll go through it in a minute, but you think about tapping the toes gently. That makes sure your toes are turned in slightly rather than kind of coming down as they are at the moment. And we'll do the ballerina exercise as well, which again is working on having a nice flutter kick and pointed toes. Okay, so what I want to look at now is your body alignment. So ideally, I said before, everything should kind of run in two lines. You should be almost like you're on tram lines.
Yeah.
So everything should go in alignment in the way that you're travelling. Anything other than straight is costing you energy. So, and then we've got this crossover straight away. Okay. So just so as you see what it should be like. So your hand enters. You can see Jono's shoulder there.
Mm-hmm. I think what it is mentally I'm trying to sort of get the straight position and just go over the middle basically.
Yeah. And that's the value of these videos, because you don't know what you look like. You don't know you're doing that, do you? And you can actually see, when we look at your head position, where you're actually looking in the water, you can very often see, if you're conscious of it and you look at it, my arm's over here, we need to straighten it up a little bit. So hand into the water, extend straight ahead, look.
Yeah. And
then the catch engages, pushes back, but the hand is in. And when he breathes, eventually, when he breathes, look, his hand is still there.
Yeah.
It's still there. So when you breathe, it's collapsing down. So what you end up with is what we call, this is front quadrant swimming. So you should always have a hand in this area here.
Yep.
Otherwise, your body starts to sink down. Okay. Whereas if we do the same kind of thing with Jono here. There's always a hand there. When the next one comes in, and the other one pulls out the way, that one comes in. There's always a hand there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll do some drills called some body alignment exercises, which you may have seen. Do you ever swim with a club or anything else like that? No? Okay. Some of these are some kind of standard swim club kind of drills sometimes. Have you got any? You say you've got some pool training aids and things like that, have you, or not?
Not with me, but
okay.
Got a pool boy and a board, kickboard and whatnot.
Keep it on the side. I won't play all this because we're kind of going to be short time. But so this is with fins.
Yep.
It's been used in swimming for many years.
And it's literally kicking along on your side like that.
Mm-hmm.
Arm out straight. And as you can see, he turns and breathes, but keeps the hand there, so it gets you used to being straight.
I see. Yeah.
Taking a breath and keeping that arm high.
Yeah.
Okay. And that'll stop you collapsing the arm down.
I think that's going to be one of the hardest things, because it's for me it's a mental thing where I'm almost trying to push my head out of the water to breathe, back from the arm down, so it's getting over that. But
absolutely.
I'm kind of aware of it, but not quite sure on the fix.
Have you got fins?
No.
Okay. You're going to need some fins.
Yeah. Okay.
Because these drills, you need some propulsion in order to work on the front end.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got a great kick, then all you're going to be concentrating on is trying to not sink.
Yeah.
So you really need some fins. I've got some fins if you need some. All these drills use fins. And I'll go through exactly how to do this drill in a minute with you before. And then this will progress onto the 6-1-6. So you kick 6 times on the side, and then you introduce a stroke onto the other side, and then you kick 6 times, introduce a stroke onto the other side, and then it goes to 6-3-6. And you can see it starts to build up a full stroke then.
Yeah.
Where are we? Okay, so that'll work on your body alignment. And when your body alignment is better, it will improve your hand entry. Okay? It will naturally improve your hand entry, and it will naturally start to improve your body positioning.
Yeah.
And your legs will improve your body positioning as well. What I'm just going to show you, just to finish off with, is some sculling exercises. So we said about your hands. The one arm, the angle is not too bad. Okay. The other arm is pushing straight down.
Yeah.
So what we want to be doing is some sculling drills. which gets you used to being in that position, almost like stretching around a barrel, is what they say. Okay, like you're holding a big barrel or a big Swiss ball or something like that. What am I looking for? Skull. That's still on that. Skull number 1. Now, after this, if you've got any questions or anything, then obviously let me know.
Yeah.
Because there will be things after you finish you'll want to ask. So you can contact me anytime and ask if there's anything you're unsure about. So sculling gets you used to having your hands high and getting that initial catch in the water.
Yeah.
Generally, generally speaking, your shoulder should always be above your elbow, which should always be above your wrist, which should always be above your fingertips. It should always be that angle. Okay.
Yeah.
If you drop your elbow, then you start to go backwards potentially. Okay, and that's all causing drag as well. So that's the school number 1. I'll go through that with you in a minute so you know what it feels like. Again, I'm just putting these on here so you've got what they look like. Doggy paddle. So this is getting you used to that angle in the elbow and the pull back, the pull through. So you have to see his fingertips dipping down there, higher elbow, and then there's the angle we're looking for, and then the push back, and then repeat it with the other hand.
So basically not taking the sort of elbows out of the water.
Yeah, just pushing straight forward. Yeah. That's with a pull buoy.
Yeah.
So that's a good drill to work on. And I think for now, I think that's enough to kind of go along with. So they're kind of the main points. So what we'll do now is we'll get you in the water and we'll start running through some of these. Okay. And see how we get on. All right, got any questions or anything?
No, I'm sure. Plenty now.
Okay. Good. All right. Okay. See you in a second.